Welcome to the Empress and the Hermit. I am the Hermit.
Andrew Slack.
God,
and I am
third time.
the Empress, Katie Van Lin.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is our 4th episode. Before we get going too far, thank you to people who we know who apparently listen.
Yeah, we've gotten so much feedback.
It's really cool. It means an awful lot, and I've seen some people share it, and it means an awful lot. Hi, Zach and Mandy. That was very, very sweet.
I mean, we even got feedback today that people are watching this like in Thailand.
Well, yeah. Hang on.
They were on vacation.
They were on vacation,
but still,
they're part of this dance thing we're doing. So Emily, right? Is their name?
Shout out.
She's so
Emily.
cool. And Luna.
Yeah.
Used advice from your podcast. She quoted you today. And a couple other people brought it up too, just from the show.
Yeah, but thank you for sharing it. Thank you for posting about it. Thank you for telling us what you liked about it. Ooh. That's the whole point.
Yep.
It's conversations.
And and before we get into today's topic, I know I said this a second ago. Before we get too far, I just want to say that it's been a really tough week for me. And we just started this new project, and the greater shout out goes to everybody involved down at Vega. Everybody in that cast is really, really kind and really hardworking, and it really warmed my heart today. It was just so cool, and I want to make sure that if anybody happens to be listening from that cast, you're very, very professional, you're very kind, and you worked really hard, and it really matters.
And if you have no idea what we're talking about, Vega Dance Lab is here in Portland, Oregon, which is where we are a part of a upcoming show. Because if you don't know this about us already, we are also professional dancers.
Indeed.
So we, it's bringing us a lot of joy right now.
Yeah. Anyhow, today we're talking about collections because the inspiration for this one, as it seems to be, is we watched a thing and we were like, yeah, that thing. So Netflix, this has been out for like a year, I guess, just about a year.
Yeah.
It's a documentary called The Pez Outlaw, and it centers around Steve Glue and the Pez collector community. And I'll do like I think for the link for this, I'll do like a general Wikipedia of kind of the movie or something.
Yeah, because you should definitely watch it. I don't want to give away too much info about it, but it just was so delightful, and it really made us think about collections and the things that people collect and the people who are collectors. And yes, and the people who are collectors.
And you know, I just talking about the movie, I love documentaries. They are without a doubt my favorite style of movie because there's truth. Like, yes, you can spin a narrative, obviously, but the whole idea is truth. You know, you're telling somebody's story, and that's extremely important. And this one, more than most I see, had style, and it had it felt like the crew who was recording it and producing it had Steve's back
totally
the whole time. Sometimes you watch what's the Alpinist? You remember that?
Yeah.
You know, where the focus of it is that kid, I forget his name, he's a famous climber, which I can't recommend that one. It was just so hard to watch. But the fascinating thing about that was just like the subject was so tough to pin down, the climber, that it turned into like a sort of a where in the world is Carmen Sandiego kind of situation. Like they had to track this guy down. They really had to, hey, you signed a contract. Hey, okay, this isn't really about just this kid anymore. It's about, you know, this narrative of like, why are you like this? And like, they didn't feel like they were, they didn't really feel like they were necessarily on his side so much as like studying him like a monkey.
Yeah, it kind of devolved into this like whole other thing, which we've actually watched documentaries that devolved into a whole different thing that were really cool. Like,
Tread?
Do
you remember
was
Tread?
An amazing one.
That is a roller coaster.
I'm thinking of the one about juicing, or not juicing, but the cyclist one.
Oh my God! Yeah, so juicing. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's Lance Armstrong,
and they didn't know it was going to take this turn.
Icarus.
You
gotta watch Icarus.
It took a hard turn, and it was so good.
We will absolutely do an episode about there's a lot to unpack with Icarus alone. There's a lot we should just pick and choose from that. We will do a topic about, we mentioned like sports and athleticism, and absolutely I want to talk about, at least in part, a whole thing of, what's the word? Performance enhancement. So,
totally.
But for now, the whole point of talking about these other documentaries is that those sort of narratives, like I didn't feel like, here's our hero, we're going to help our hero, we're going to get his story told.
Yeah.
And in the Pez Outlaw, which is also the blog that Steve Glue wrote.
Right, that's right.
Which is why the documentary was made. I felt like they were there with the guy the entire time, and they really wanted you to know his story, and it was just really heartwarming. And if we talk any more about it, I think we'll start to spoil
I'll say one
stuff.
more thing about it just to convince you to go watch it. You touched on it very briefly, was that we watch a ton of documentaries. Yeah. It's kind of like
most
our
of
thing.
What we see. Yeah.
And we have, I think I can speak for both of us on this part. And, I love true crime, so I like watching true crime documentaries. And
here's how ignorant I am. Or like maybe my brain's just shut off lately, but I didn't even, of course that's documentary material.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just think of it as true crime. It's murder porn.
Yeah, it's like this whole other subset. It's a subset of documentaries.
I'm a silly boy.
But the thing that we have a really hard time with is any sort of reenactment that seems hokey.
Yeah, I love them. They're great. But it does take you out of it.
It takes you out of it. And for me personally, it's really hard for me to watch that sort of stuff. And I was saying this in the middle of us watching this, of like, wow, they had like 4 or maybe 5 people total interviewed for this documentary.
That's true.
So they had all of these reenactments, which to their credit, they used the guy. They dyed his beard so it looked like he was his younger self, which was so cool. And the reenactments were like, it was beautiful. Like the cinematography was great. It was like what did I call whimsical?
It was whimsical, absolutely.
It was fun and whimsical, and they didn't try to like recreate it in such a serious sense of like, this is exactly what it looked like and what happened. But it was like, it took you along with the story in a very whimsical way, in the way that they're talking about collectors that collect Pez dispensers.
Yeah, there's a scene
very well done.
Yeah, there's a scene where they go to, again, I don't want to say anything. I really want people to watch this.
Yeah, for sure.
But there is a scene where they go to a Pez factory, and the way that it's portrayed is the way that Steve remembers it. Mm-hmm. Like it's so, and the way that he's describing it. So it's beautiful, and it's brightly colored, and it's like a Willy Wonka thing. He mentions that at some point. You got to watch it. It's just so lovely.
It's so good.
So I resonated really hard with this man. For a lot of reasons. Like there's times where he describes himself and he's, I think he's in his 70s or 60s now. And so he's got this nice life experience, and he's able to actually look at himself and just digest, I guess, and process everything he's ever been through. And it's a lot of shit that I've been through in many ways. And I've mentioned this, and I hate that I mention this a lot, but I'm obsessive compulsive. I mentioned that for a lot of people, and for me at least, my OCD is rules, and so is this guy. Like, he has to have a white paper towel with him at all times. It's like his worry stone, so to speak. And if he doesn't, it almost gives him panic attacks because it's supposed to be there. And so you take that kind of mentality, and you put it into something like collecting. It's just very satisfying. And in general, that's not for those of you that don't know, OCD is not, I need to get every little thing and I need to like rearrange everything to a right angle. That's just a normal human need. You can see monkeys and other animals like collecting stones and building piles, and like that's a very normal thing. But with OCD, it's like if in relation to collecting, you have to have this certain part of the collection, and that's just me. And I've always envied real collectors. So like watching.
What do you think makes a real collector?
Well, for me, okay, so I've envied people who have one collection that they're obsessed with, I guess I should say. Because I have stuff, and I'm getting rid of a lot of it, but I have certain things that I need the X variant of this thing. And there's this weird almost requirement in my brain. need that one thing. So I don't need like every single Funko Pop, you know, but there's something compelling about having the Funko Pops that mean like they give me a very specific sense memory. I mean, what we're really talking about is like that emotional, spiritual connection with an object.
Yeah.
You know,
which
that word was object. Sorry, I'm drinking, which I'm drinking homemade by my dear friend Kristen. Shout out. She made limoncello.
Yeah.
That is bomb as hell.
It's real good. I
But there's Everclear in
really
here.
loved watching this documentary with you because just to give like my my perspective of this, when I met Andrew and I came over to his house for the first time, I'll give the backstory on me first. I went through a very heavy minimalist period right after college when I had moved around a bunch and I just was so tired of having so many things, and like I had just so many items of clothing at that time, which seems funny now because I have a lot of clothes now too, but
I don't have a closet.
Yeah, that's a whole other whole other thing. He built me a beautiful closet and he
I wouldn't have it any other way.
doesn't have any space in it.
I get a single
Drawers.
hanger in the other room where we also keep like an unused, clean, for the record, cat box and various other crap.
Yeah. Yes. But anyways, I went through this period shortly after college where I was moving around a lot, and so I just went through this whole minimalist period. I actually like literally watched all of the minimalists like documentaries and their podcasts, which I really find a lot of value in still. I don't listen to it quite as much as I used to, but I got rid of so much stuff, and so I was in this kind of like, I don't really understand collections kind of period of my life. And I met Andrew and I saw these collections and I was like, whoa, I honestly like I didn't understand or like know that people had these large collections and like what they meant and what they,
I don't even have, I have a perfectly reasonably sized collection of all of my shit that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
But it's not like these, like, we haven't really delved into it yet. If you've never looked into, you know what, finish what you thought, because I just realized I interrupted you.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh.
It just is like, because maybe there's people listening to this that like are like, what do you mean like collections? Because I genuinely like was like, why do you even need collections? Because I was so immersed in this minimalist lifestyle of like only have what you essentially need.
Sure.
And then I met you and it like all made sense to me.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, I get it. And now I have my own collections of things which are very like attached to like feelings.
Sure.
Like how things make me feel.
Well, and again, I think that's a huge component of this. So there's a bad rap that gets thrown onto obsessives, right? I just mean people who are way into some shit.
Yeah,
Not like
totally.
we're not talking like neurodivergence or anything.
No,
like
like you just like are really into something.
yeah, and so there's a bad rap that gets put on specific. Oh God, I'm sorry. Is this what you came for? A bad rap that gets put onto collectors, like they're hoarders or something like that. And if you meet an actual diehard collector, of which I have several friends who are, and I'm talking like hundreds from like one friend of one item, you know, or something from a genre, to like thousands one of my friends has in one thing, and they know every single one of them.
They're organized.
They're typically very organized, and that's really the distinction. Is like, it's care is being taken in acquiring these items and keeping these items, and it's something that, in my opinion and in my experience, brings great purpose and great joy to someone's life. It's like anything.
Yeah.
Like you have, like we go out and we do a ton of physical shit. We basically collect these experiences, which are non-tangibles, but you know, whatever the evidence is in our memories, maybe photos, or like how fucking ripped we are that day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or food, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Versus like you have a physical, obviously you have a physical representation on a shelf and you have thousands and thousands of them.
What that actually reminds me of, we watched another documentary, surprise, surprise, about shoes. Remember? It was about Nike shoes.
No.
It was
Remind me.
It was about Nike shoes, and it was before they had like their system that they have now that's like online and like the raffles.
Oh man, Sneakerheads.
Yeah, Sneakerheads.
God, that's a good movie.
And I remember us sitting there and being like, there were collectors in that documentary where we were like, man, it's so unfortunate that he has, you know, or she, I don't remember exactly.
It was a dude. I forget his name.
He has, you know, 1,000 pairs of these shoes, and they're locked away in this closet, and you never see them.
It is a literal. He's a famous fucking athlete, but you know, my sports knowledge is in the toilet. My sports knowledge strictly stopped right around 1995, when Fight Me on This, the Dallas Cowboys sort of took a stink dive, and the Chicago Bulls were starting to like slow down and everything. I was a big Jordan fan like everybody, and you know, Pippen and shit. Anyway, yeah, he has a literal safe, like what you would keep gold bars in next to the saloon.
Right.
He has that for his shoes, and he even says like, well, guess these are going in the vault.
Yeah, which
to never be worn.
Yeah, which, you know, again, I'm of the mindset it's your life. You absolutely get to do anything you want to, but it was so cool watching this documentary that we were watching yesterday about the Pez collectors and seeing their collections on display because
proudly because in these beautiful
they connect
displays
to these pieces,
absolutely,
and they want them on display because of the feelings it brings them. And it felt so different to me.
I agree. Except for rude McDickfuck. Like,
yeah, there was a guy on there.
Again, watch the thing, but basically he was like, he wouldn't even allow the film crew to look at some of his stuff, and it was tucked away in such a way. I'm like, buddy, it's going to be okay. Yeah. But again, he also knew everything he had. Mm-hmm. He was so excited to show what he was allowing them to show. It's like, he's just a dick, like when you really get down to it.
We're saying that because he was like literally saying nasty things about other people in the documentary. So it's like not just because of that, but it was kind of weird and yeah. There were nicer people in that documentary.
Yeah. So I got into So again, my version of collecting isn't, I don't have 1,000 of anything because in part, I don't have a beautiful place to display them. And I don't have the cash, right? We have responsibilities, blah, blah, blah. If I had ass tons of surplus cash.
How much is ass tons?
It's less than a fuckload, but definitely more than a shit ton.
Yeah.
It's like a metric ass load. Anyway.
Yeah, sure.
You got to convert to imperial. It's a whole to do.
It's a whole thing.
So, if I had a ton of money that I could just blow on whatever I wanted, that is absolutely one thing I would want to do. But it would still be for specific items from things. I don't think I would necessarily look for every last, misprinted Funko Pop that was ever made. Like my Funko collection, I've actually dwindled it down. Now it's just things that have very powerful emotional connections for me.
Yeah.
So I have right next to me actually we've never done an episode about how fucking dorky I am.
I was going to say, for those who don't know what a Funko Pop is.
A Funko Pop is it's an SD figure. It means super deformed. They're very cute. They're very small. I'd be shocked as fuck if nobody knows what a Funko is.
I didn't know what a Funko Pop was when I met you.
It's so surprising. You were in marketing and they are everywhere.
Yeah. So I know. I don't know how I didn't know about it.
I got into Funko. This is so hipstery, but I got into it before it was like the big deal that it is now. Like, I remember Funko Pop back when they were just bobbleheads. I had an El Diablo bobblehead, which is like, at the time, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
It was like, there's only a few of them in print at the time, and like, it was a whole thing. It was really cool. But I only have, so anyway, man, I'm losing my train of thought. So, sorry, Funko is a company that produces these adorable little plastic figures. They're still actually handmade, which blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like they are in everything now too. Giant eyes, usually no mouth, really stylized versions. Zach calls them useless pieces of plastic because they all look the same, and he's kind of right.
Yeah.
The look doesn't really work for every single franchise.
Yeah.
I collect them because I used to collect them because I think they're adorable.
Yeah.
And because at the time, they only had so many franchises, like a very small amount. So when it was like, oh, they got the Power Rangers franchise. Holy shit, I can get a little Tommy Oliver, like a little Green Ranger, which is sitting. I have two Funkos sitting right next to me right now. One is the Green Ranger from Power Rangers from the original American run. played by Jason David Frank, who passed away about 2 months ago. So I've just had him out to like comfort me. And that's what we need to have a fucking episode about. I forget the term, but like connecting with a celebrity figure, like people you don't even know.
Yeah.
And then I have one next to it of Batman from one of my favorite episodes of the Batman animated series. It's an episode that questions like, what does it even mean to be alive? And I have that out because Kevin Conroy, who was the voice actor for Batman for the animated series and for like all the movies and shit, passed away also like a couple days around when Jason David Frank did. Mm-hmm. I'll try to remember to include a link to Kevin Conroy singing Am I Blue? And it'll just break your heart. I just love him so much. So I'm an unusual collector because I don't need a lot of numbers, but I do, when I see these things that move me, I just really want this physical representation. And we can go into why later, because it's I guess a little sad, but they give me great comfort when I have them. And a friend of mine who collected Magic the Gathering cards and baseball cards, like he had an unbelievable amount of baseball cards. And like I think it was a legacy collection too, like his father and his grandfather collected them. Probably worth a ton of money, but it's definitely one of those like he'd never sell them ever. It was just this connection to his past, and he said it would give him sort of a sense of purpose, belonging, and like control, essentially. Like he knows this thing, he knows their worth, he knows that it will bring him happiness, and it's that cycle of it that I found fascinating.
Yeah, I love that. I've never really thought of like a legacy collection, but that's like, what do you do when you're I'm like trying to say this in a nice way. What do you do after you pass on? Well, you give it to someone who would continue it. That makes total sense for me. Yeah,
in theory at least. But there's a lot of kids who don't really want to take on that crap because it is, when you really get down to it, it's just lumps of plastic, a lot of this shit, or paper that somebody placed value on.
Yeah.
That you may or may not resonate with.
Yeah.
Like, God, I had an image of a very famous, just imagine if it was like, you wouldn't keep like my PlayStation 1 games, I would assume, if I were to pass away. I wouldn't expect you to either. But if I had like a massive crystal collection, which is something that you and I share together, like we both have a love for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it can create bonds and that sort of thing. Yeah. Create huge communities behind it. And
that actually like made me think about like, there's gotta be a different like reason for everyone who collects a certain something, because
I would assume
when I think about the things that I collect now, like I collect crystals, and I don't really much anymore because I don't wear as much makeup, but it used to be one of the things I did a few years ago, pre-pandemic. I hate that I have to like use that as like a tiny.
It's term, okay. It worked for Jesus.
Pre-panty.
Ew. That's
used
so fucking weird.
I used to as like a
life pre-panties.
Pre-panty.
Some people collect panties.
It's true.
Oh, we need to do an episode about vending machines. Vending machines are a thing, y'all. Yeah.
But pre-pandemic, one of the things that I found like very, very comforting was sitting down and doing my makeup for like an hour or more at a time.
That sounds like good self-care.
It was so relaxing, and I didn't think of it this way then, but it was like my creative outlet. Like some people
that's cool.
Yeah, some people sit and they'll, paint or sculpt or whatever.
I love your brain. It's
Thank
so
you.
Cool.
I never thought of it like that then, and now it's so clear to me now that's what I was doing. I was like trying to keep my very, at the time, very, very anxious brain like occupied doing something, but through another outlet. And so I had a massive collection of makeup, which that's interesting in itself. If it's like something that doesn't last a lifetime, like you should not keep your makeup.
Isn't that a health thing?
Yeah, like every piece of whatever has an expiration date. So like your mascara, if it's like more than 2 months old, get rid of it. Stop putting it on your face.
I've just been brushing my teeth with it.
Oh yeah, I noticed your teeth were looking a little,
Thanks for yes-anding the really gross one. That was good.
But and now I'm thinking maybe I should get back into this. And makeup is like weirdly expensive depending on where you get it. But I had these collections of just glitters that go on your eyes, like glitter.
Wow, really? That's so cool.
Oh yeah, and it's like, glitter eyeshadow or like glitter. Just like loose glitter that you use with the glue, and then there's like,
I know I'm also
highlighters.
a dancer, but like Jesus, glitter, it's just herpes.
Yeah, Andrew hates glitter.
I
love glitter.
I love the look of it. It's delightful. It's whimsical.
Yeah, but now that I'm thinking about it, I had a very large collection, like very, very large collection. But at any time I could sit there and I could look at my 14 red lipsticks and I could be like, which one is going to go with whatever I'm doing. And it was a creative outlet for me, and it helped me like express whatever I was feeling in that moment. And now,
see, that is really cool to me.
Thank you. Yeah, I should get back into that.
You should just do whatever makes you happy.
So much of it
there's your
expired.
advice from our episode today.
Yeah, so much of it expired during the pandemic, and then I wasn't wearing any makeup because we weren't going anywhere. So,
and you don't need it.
And now we're gonna get back into shows and things.
And now we need it.
I'll need all the glitter. But now
I have to touch on that. Like, there's I forget who said this. It was like years ago, or about a year ago. But somebody was saying like, oh, isn't it annoying essentially that you have to like look a certain way for your shows? Mm-hmm. And like, first of all, no, I love it.
Yeah.
But because we're in a time where you can do like, it's very like body positive, or at least it's moving more that way. I shouldn't say it is, because fuck, the internet's horrible.
Yeah.
But we're moving in that direction where like basically, hopefully one day no one will care. Mm-hmm. Just you'll do you, honey, and no one will care.
Yeah.
But yeah, a friend of mine was saying like, isn't it annoying basically that you have to get your body in a specific look for a show, and you have to like make up and suit up and do whatever you had to do? And I was like, no, it's really cool to me because you get to have a very specific goal that you agreed on, and you're selling a fantasy.
I think we should.
Which is a quote from DJ Brown,
who
I quote almost always.
I think we keep saying in these episodes, we should do an episode about this. But like literally, as we're saying,
that's your drinking game. We made that clear.
Please feel free to like come. We have an Instagram account, the Empress and the Hermit. Please come message us there and let us know which one of these things you want to hear more about. And I think we should,
better yet, comment on the
any of the posts that we post about the episode, because we really do want to hear like whatever you want to hear more about. And
or better yet, if you're a friend of ours, we will probably actually take your advice. If we don't know you and you're some internet troll, we may not, or you may be lovely. I don't know. We will probably, people we know come to us. It's going to be lovely.
But we'll talk more about show stuff, because I know that anyone who's not a dancer or hasn't been in any of these types of shows, you probably have a ton of questions about all of that. And because I have a lot of different, and we have different perspectives on the way we show up in shows too. We've talked about like how I kind of take on like an alter ego and like what that means for me and like that sort of stuff. But anyways, I wanted to touch on one other collection that I have right now that is weirdly like similar but different, is the crystal collection that you mentioned. Now I have all these different crystals, and I'm so intentional with that one.
Oh yeah.
Like that one is like, Andrew has gone with me and has even like supported me in gathering more crystals of like, I
love them.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love them because I like to play wizards in video games. and I know a lot about like voodoo and druidism and well, I mean like that's anyway.
Yeah. But I'm
a dork.
I go and I like literally have to touch all of them, and I have to like really
resonate
feel into whatever the feeling is that it's making me feel. And then now I built this collection so that whatever properties that specific crystal has that helps you garner within yourself, I can utilize them in my rituals in order to bring that out. So it's in a weird but different way, it's similar to the makeup collection and helping me like express myself and connect deeper to myself.
I don't think it's a different way. I think there is a single root cause for everything that we do. Now, maybe it's a different thing overall.
Yeah.
But okay, so here's the deal. And this is still connected, I promise. Because I think there's some need that collectors have for their collections, whether it's like, and it could be as simple as like, oh, I got into this thing and it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
This is cool. I like the thing, whatever. Most collectors I've ever talked to, and because I've gone to so many different types of conventions over the years, like I've worked tons of conventions of different kinds. And there's always a different vibe behind like, oh, you collect postage stamps. Yeah, I have like 50,000 and it's because X. Oh shit. I collect waifus because man, they're hot. And like I get my rocks off or whatever. Or I like the sculpting of it, like to not be an asshole about it. Like whatever.
Or Allison Roman collects dried beans from everywhere she
collects
travels.
Some beans, dude.
Yeah.
So I think there's an inherent root need for everything that we do, obviously. Like it's widely considered, or there's a school of thought, I should say, that I like to subscribe to, that most everything we do in life is based on survival. And I'm talking like the baser level, whether you're like the jobs you get, the activities you have, and definitely the kind of person you are is based on this is getting me through to the next day. So most of our basic issues are gone, like for the most part. And I'm talking like, even if you're low income, which I am, like you're barely scraping by or whatever, you still probably have a roof over your head. You know, you're not hunting a saber-toothed tiger, or it's not hunting you. You're not worried about that. So your brain starts to do things in order to sort of find meaning.
Yeah.
If all we had to do was get water, get shelter, not get eaten, and eat ourselves and find community, we'd be fine, right? All of those things were done, but we still have this inherent need to find purpose in the actions that we do, because we're not hunting, gathering, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Again, this is all like one school of thought. So yeah, I think there's something there for absolutely every person. And I wish I could put on some magic goggles and just see, why the fuck do you collect pogs? Oh, it's because your dad was you don't know what pogs are.
I don't know what a pog is.
So we're doing an all audio episode. And I should have said this at the beginning, but like if we are going to put it on YouTube, and there's only a handful of people so far who are watching this rather than like listening to it on a Spotify. For now, we're not going to do an audio or a video component, because we're talking about starting up a Patreon.
We took a pause on the video because we both really like to have high quality products.
I want it to look good.
And we just weren't super pleased with how it looked. So we're going to just pause for now until we get something that we absolutely love, that we're super ecstatic about.
Yes. So that's that for now.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I wish I could just have some magic goggles. That's right. You don't know what the fuck pogs are.
Yeah, pog. That was my face.
That's the face. Pogs were a collection. That's what we should do, is go through weird ass collections. Pogs were a thing in the mid 90s that were at one time literal like milk caps. You'd get these little, or no, they're not. Yeah, I guess they were referred to that. So pog is a drink, like a Hawaiian punch sort of thing. Yeah, I know the
drink. Yeah.
Yeah. So underneath those were little caps, little like pieces of cardboard, circular pieces of cardboard that you could trade with your friends.
Oh.
And then I think the juice company started the craze, or like really pushed it in the 90s. I still have mine.
Yeah.
This was wild. I had a pog maker, but you could buy different pieces of art on these crappy little pieces of cardboard, and there was a game that was associated with it, sort of like marbles, actually, now that I think about it, where like you'd stack your pogs up in a tower, and you'd have a slammer, which was just like either a piece of metal. I think originally it was like whoever had a big coin or a washer or something, but they made fucking sweet ones. I'll find it. I'll show you. They're really very stupid. I love them. or they were made of plastic. Some were ergonomically designed so they fit over the pads on your fingers, and you'd slam it down, and whatever pogs like flipped over from the tower, those are yours. You kept those, and whoever had the most at the end won. It was actually really fun.
That reminds me of not to totally interrupt you and
Whatever.
derail where you were going, but do you remember this little finger skateboards?
Hell yeah, tech decks.
Tech decks.
I hated them.
Oh my god.
I thought you were a fucking dick if you had those.
Oh,
Connor, if you're listening.
I was gonna say I think we had some tech decks, but I think we had a lot more cards, collecting.
Yeah, sure.
And I was a Barbie fiend.
I love
Polly
Barbie.
Pockets.
I was a Mighty Max kid, which was the boy version of Polly Pocket.
And we did Beanie Babies too.
That's an interesting thing. Oh, Beanie Babies can suck my fucking dick. Sorry. No, so did you know that it was actually uncovered that Beanie Babies were a scam?
Yeah, we watched something about it, I think.
Oh, we watched a Red Letter Media thing about it.
Yeah.
But the company was found out to be producing them in such a way to be unattainable, and then they burst them into the mainstream, and it was a whole thing. They were controlling the ebb and flow in a really shady fucking way. And it is not cool. You mentioned Polly Pocket.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite eras I love toys to this day. They make me happy. They really do. A grown-ass man.
I don't think you could do Polly Pockets today the way that we had them. They were so small.
They'd be a choking hazard.
100%. I really don't think they sell them like that. Like the original little
I know.
Tiny guys.
They were small. They were like nerd size.
And the little houses cracked in half. They didn't crack in half, but they had a hinge where they opened up, and then you had 2 levels. So I loved that.
That's my favorite era of toys, because that was still the era of this one's for girls and this one's for boys. And what a stupid thing.
Yeah, really.
To yes, you can make an argument based on the rigors of our, or not rigors, the pressures or whatever of our society, that there is a way for girls to be and there is a way for boys to be, at least according to a mainstream bullshit way, right?
Which is just so
it's
lame.
Condescending and lame. I liked Barbie as a kid.
Totally.
I thought Barbie was fucking sick.
Barbie had a convertible Camaro.
Yeah,
she was
Barbie
dope.
was dope. She was cute. She had the Malibu dream house. She had 50 jobs. That girl could do whatever she wanted. What the fuck did Ken do?
Ken wore tuxedos sometimes.
No, Ken was there. He was a bot boy. And you know what? That sounds kind of nice.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Oh, that's making me think back to all my childhood toys now.
Well, what I'm saying is you could never, you say, you could not. I can't think of off the top of my head the way that a toy was gendered the way that they were when we were kids.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, yes, there's Barbie. Yes, I think we still have G.I. Joe equivalents,
Yeah.
But G.I. Joe when I was a child was the girls don't understand. Everybody get ready. Yeah. Hoorah.
Yeah.
It was fuck.
And we had at the fast food chains, they would literally
ask you want the toy for boys or girls?
For boys or girls, which is so weird to think about now.
Hilarious. And you'd be like, nah, give me those sweet Transformers.
Yeah.
Did you ever see those?
No, I mean, I don't really remember.
This might have been before your time, but the McDonald's Transformers were the coolest shit. Before they started to toys now at McDonald's suck. When they do them.
I was gonna say, do they even do them anymore?
They do. They're extra, and I think they're limited edition things.
Okay.
But back in the day, you'd order a Happy Meal, and you just got one.
Right.
And they were great. So the Transformers were they weren't cars and shit. They were meal items, so they were in keeping with theme.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a pterodactyl that was made from, it would transform from the pancake box.
What?
Yeah,
it's way cooler than I
really
feel the
cool.
random things that you, I don't know, got during my era, I guess.
Yeah, it started to get crappy because it cost money to make them. Although the price point shifted.
That is where the Beanie Baby stuff came in, because they had the mini Beanie Babies that you got in the Happy Meals. And I do specifically remember my parents were very into that, and we would go around and get lots of Happy Meals to collect all these mini Beanie Babies.
Yeah.
And I also feel they still have a lot of these things that we're talking about. Like
I'm
the
sure.
mini Beanie Babies, the Polly Pockets, the Barbies.
We should actually go like snatch up these items and like revisit this topic at another time. I'm sure we'll revisit other topics too, but I guarantee we will.
Yeah.
It would just be cool to talk about the feels that they give us and like stories behind them. I think that'd be cool because when I was a kid, I was really lonely. I had friends, but I've always felt kind of lonely. And my way of feeling like I wasn't so alone was collecting items. My first collection, really, I guess, were my toys. I remember whether I got them because I begged my parents or because I saved some money or because I stole them from my friends. There's a very vivid image of me having to like work a little path in my floor because toys were all over it. But I knew every single one that I had. And I had assigned a persona to every single one of them because, each one of them was important to me.
I think, I wanted to talk a little bit to get your perspective because I definitely think I have my own opinion about like when a collection becomes more like
a burden,
then
or a problem.
I
think anything becomes a problem when you don't satisfy your basics. You know, it's one thing. It still technically would be a collection, but like if you're like missing work,
that was gonna be what I was gonna say.
Or if you're
it's impeding on your basic functions.
The big one is like when it gets really toxic is I can't afford rent,
right?
You know, something to that effect, or it's diminishing your quality of life in some way, and it happens all the time. Because what you're dealing with there. It stops being a collecting activity, in my opinion. It just becomes a crutch.
Yeah, like an unhelpful coping mechanism.
Exactly, a coping mechanism. That's much better. And you know, I've done that. Like whatever it is. I think the majority of the times I've done that, it's been through video games. So those of you listening, there's a service called Steam, and if you're a dork, you know. But like, there's an ongoing joke with Steam of like, oh my God, there's a sale going on. Well, I'll just add it to the collection. And then the meme is there's this pile like the size of Mount Everest that you'll never get to, you'll never play. I think I have something like 1,000 or maybe 1,200 games that I have on Steam. I didn't buy them all, but I bought enough that I'm like, I didn't need that. I just wanted to feel like I had a thing that I wanted to make me happy.
And that kind of leads me to my second part of like when I think it becomes like an issue is like one is the what we just talked about. Mm-hmm. Two is like when you can't like keep track of it all in your mind, or it, like any part of it like loses that original like feeling that it gave you. Because like when I think of another collection that I have is I have a lot of books. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of audiobooks, and I have a lot of, you know, what's the other kind? Just like an ebook.
An ebook.
And I love my books, but I've been thinking about it lately of like revisiting books. I don't typically do in the same format in which I did it the first time. So like I read a paper book, which I do love doing, I'll probably, if I ever go back to it, I'll listen to it on Audible.
Sure.
Because I'm like trying to get it in a different way.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I have all these paper books, and at the same time, I have so many that I haven't read yet. That's my thing is like just right now, probably 20 books that I haven't read.
Damn, that's not terrible.
But it's because I'm constantly feeling really pulled and inspired to like learn more. If you know anything about me, it's like I'm a constant funnel of insatiable curiosity and learning. Like every day I'm consuming something to be learning. And so
if you could be paid to be a student,
oh my God, I would be, oh man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And somebody's listening like, I did that.
Yeah.
I'm talking like paid to be a student. That'd be great. God.
Like based on how much information you put into your brain each day.
PSU, if you're listening, you got like 30,000 students. Just like fucking throw a tuition our way, and maybe like, I don't know, just spitballing a number, $250,000 a year would be great.
love it so much. And those are the things that I start thinking about of like, I start thinking about maybe I should slow down and like put it on a wish list and come back to it later and make sure I felt the same feeling. And then when I'm ready, like get it.
So I started doing that.
Yeah.
And it helps. Like the window shopping for me is crazy therapeutic. You know, that we mentioned it, I think last week, but research makes me so happy. And that's the same thing. So like I can look at my Amazon list or whatever. I have various Amazon lists, dude, Amazon lists that it's like, oh, this would be cool to have, or this is for training, or this is for camping, or this is for whatever. This is for hobbies. And it actually curbs my spending something fierce. Yeah. Because then if I really want it and I've taken the time to like look at it and think about it, then I'll get it. But versus like, I'm going to fucking, it's that. I remember I was drunk like 10 years ago.
I was going to say when.
I know.
We really don't, even though we keep mentioning it on this podcast, we actually like we don't really drink.
We have like a cider or a beer or a cocktail every other week at this point. No reason, just we're busy. It's not
really our thing.
I like a good cocktail. If I'm going to drink and I want to drink, it's going to be a good cocktail. We'll do an episode on cocktails. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Crap, it's gone. No, it was so good. Right. So 10 years ago or so, I was at my apartment, well before I had met my wonderful partner. And me and my boy, Zach, were sitting there, a couple of our friends at the time. And I was looking on, there used to be, what would I call that? I guess a nerd item store that got bought out by GameStop. Think Geek, I think they're called. It's been a while. I still have a messenger bag from them. It's held up. The thing's awesome. It's for D&D. There, but I was like really depressed, and I figured like the only way to not be depressed was to buy things. I would spend a ton of money at Powell's to just get books that I would never fucking, like you're talking about, I'd never read these. And I remember very specifically, I'm looking at Think Geek, and there's just all these like who gives a shit items that are, some of them are really cool, some of them are like a bottle opener in the shape of Thor's hammer. It's like, yes, I'm sure someone will find great joy in that. No, I do not need that. Do I though? So I was looking at this collection of travel posters from the show Firefly, which I loved. Joss Whedon's a fuckhead, but like the whole cast is really cool and the idea is interesting to me. Big Nathan Fillion fan. And I was just sitting there, I'm like teeter-tottering back and forth, and Zach's like, "Are you okay, man?" I was like, "I'm gonna buy it." He's like, "What?" I was like, "These posters, man. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna buy these posters." It was like $50. I'm gonna buy these posters. He's like, yeah, hell yeah, do it. Like in this way of like, he's trying really hard to be a friend of like, you don't need my permission to get posters, dude.
Yeah.
But that's what I thought. Like if I had these items that were to do with a thing that brought me joy, it would bring me joy. Those fucking posters didn't go on a wall until this year at the gym.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, there's like Persephone and Bellerophon and all these things, these planets. Visit beautiful Miranda. But yeah, I didn't use them. I just snatched them up because I thought I was supposed to.
I mean, and that's like a really good, I think you started to say this earlier, way to kind of like circle back on this like theme that we're getting at is like intention and the intention behind things, the intention behind collecting things.
Right.
And also like, I feel like the importance of like, you can also let things go. Like if you are collecting a certain thing and it all of a sudden like
it becomes poisonous,
or it just doesn't bring you joy anymore, that you don't have to hang on to it because you collected it,
because it's here though.
Exactly. Like you can let it go, but like the intention behind why you're collecting it, what it gives to you, and going about it that way versus like instant gratification. How does it fix something within me right now versus long term?
Yeah, well, you know, like you've been to I'm not gonna throw them under the bus entirely, but like, I grew up in a very cluttered home. Like my mom collects an awful lot of stuff. My father's more of a minimalist for the most part. So that, I think that might be something. I never actually looked at it for some reason. I got to talk to my shrink. But like being surrounded by just stuff that the reason my mother collects things is she thinks they're going to be beautiful additions to someone's life at some point. So there's this really, I think it's a very noble thing, but it ends up being like, we have all the shit. We have all the stuff. And so as I, got my own place and moved on, it was always like, okay, if I'm going to have that, with rare exception, if I'm going to have that, it needs to really fucking mean something to me. Mm-hmm. Although I think if we had the money, we'd have a board game wall like a motherfucker. Well, I say that, and then there's a lot of bad board games.
Yeah, I was going to say, I actually think we're like pretty intentional about the things we bring in our home because...
Yeah, mostly.
Because we are very intentional.
We have a lot of sauces.
We have a lot of hot sauces.
We have a lot of hot sauces.
Yeah. But we go through them a lot too, though.
It's not like those, yeah. I mean, well, if there is anything that we need to revisit intention on, it's our fucking fridge right now.
It's our hot sauce collection.
Our hot sauce kit.
Our hot sauce collection.
But, I started, in keeping with this and intention and everything, mm-hmm. I started sort of like experiencing something in one way and then getting an item that represents that thing in the last, actually since you and I got together, I'm sure you influenced me in some way in that, if not entirely. Because one of the many nerdy things that I have is like, what are they? Manga, Japanese comics. I love them. I love how they're structured. I love how they're designed to read really quickly. And that at this point, the whole planet is like way into anime and manga. I'm looking right over here in my bookcase and like, if I always test it as, can it be a show? Will it translate well? Does it move me? And then, okay, I'll get a volume of it to see if it translates. And I'm finally collecting, like, I don't want every fucking manga volume that's ever been made, but there are certain series that like I absolutely need all of them. I've read all of them. They make me so happy.
Yeah.
But there's a thing. If you were required, let's say, I guess, and wanted to have a collection that brought you great joy of anything, what would it be? How about this? Give me one that you know off the top of your head and then like a speculative one.
I don't know why this question is so hard for me. I mean, the thing that first came to me is I would have like every single item that could possibly benefit my spiritual growth.
What is it? So give me a specific though. So in the same way that like baseball cards or like crystals or whatever, like an actual physical thing.
That I don't already have?
No, it can be a thing that you have. Absolutely.
I mean, that's hard because there's a lot of different things within that category, I guess.
Play the game.
Okay. It would be... Here's me trying to combine things into one category.
Just go guttural.
Like, sound tools.
Oh, like your tuning forks?
Like my tuning forks. That's or cool. The crystal bowls you use, or really anything that creates sound frequency.
Cool. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, because then anywhere you go, you can have a tool to make sound at a frequency that you want to vibrate to.
That's really cool. Mine is not so neat like that. It would be...
I just had another one come to mind.
What is it?
And this I really do think that we are going to have in our future home. That's part of the reason we don't also have, like, we're not bringing in a ton of stuff is because we aren't in our future forever home right now, and we're both very aware of that. So it would be, we're going to have a really amazing, intentional, packed pantry.
Is that I don't know if that's a collection.
Oh, I think it's a collection.
Food?
Yeah, if you have storage that's organized of
okay, so again,
different beans.
Give me something like
grapes.
Give me like a Pez. Something I'm not going to eat and poop out.
Then I stick to my original, but that to me feels like a collection.
So I disagree, but I respect your answer.
Okay.
Give me one that you don't think of like right away. Like if you had to pick something that's like a little bit more like a Pez or something like that.
Rhinestones.
That's awesome. Holy shit.
Rhinestones.
That's so cool.
I would have like the world's biggest collection of rhinestones.
You got to tell Nikki later.
Yeah.
She'll be like, yeah.
Because I really started to get back into
you can get her on the IMs.
That. On the IMs. That's right. Nikki, if you're listening to this,
I'm never
getting you on
that
the
go.
on the IMs.
But
I would
so
get
cool.
all of the different and like, you know, highest grade Swarovski and above.
Damn.
You know, and all the different colors. And because I've really gotten way back into that again. It was very much a part of my childhood growing up as a competitive cheerleader. You put rhinestones on everything, literally everything.
I'll make you a deal that when we get our forever home, I will rhinestone a room for you.
Amazing.
You'll walk in one time.
God, can we have a whole wall that's rhinestones?
You can have a whole box room.
Yes.
You'll walk in, one pinprick of light will strike one crystal. You'll go blind.
I love it.
And that will be the most beautiful thing you've ever seen.
Our future home's going to be really eclectic and fun and clean.
It'll be clean.
It'll
be so clean.
We have a Pinterest board of, I think it's called Future Homestead, and it has our aesthetic, which is like a combination of all these things, but it's going to be, it'll be beautiful. Anyways, what would you pick?
So actually I thought that would be easier now that I think about it. Like
it's hard.
I hit a wall as soon as it collection wise it would be, I don't know if I'd do that. I might do this. I've always liked tarot cards.
Oh,
I love
we talked about that.
I love cards in general. It might be that, like, for whatever reason, and not to like, I'm not trying to fit the theme of the or like our branding or whatever. I just really love them, and I like the different versions that people come. Oh, if anybody's out there, I want a wall of Hermit cards.
Yeah,
and Empress
talked
cards.
about that. We're gonna start collecting them for the future studio. That
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's gonna be part of the whole backdrop on that studio is just gonna be, or something like we'll feature different tarot cards and who brought it to us or something.
Yeah, you send us
if
your
you're into that, like
of really cool decks with really cool art. We want to see them. Please.
Yeah, I always feel weird asking like, "Oh, send us this shit for free," but like, do that.
Oh, even just links to stuff. I mean, you can totally send us the actual thing itself, but I just want to see the different art and things that are out there because we can only find so much on our own.
Yeah, I think if I were to collect anything, and actually like. Really, I'm talking like if I could only collect one type of thing, and not be me and like pick and choose from different things. Oh, this means something. It would this is so cliche, but it would probably end up being albums.
I knew you were gonna pick that one.
I'm probably a dork or a douche by saying that, but like I really love vinyl and I like cassettes. Just to have them. Yeah. My father and mother collected vinyl. They have a great collection and it makes me feel connected to them. And I would love a room of just, oh yeah, that's a limited. I have really weird shit. Like the first printing I have it next to me. The first printing that my uncle started the Portland Blues Festival years ago. It's like a huge point of pride in our family. And then it was taken over from him eventually. But I have like a mint condition of the first album ever produced from that has some pretty unknown fucking bands on here. And then like guys like, if you're into this stuff, which I am, Lloyd Jones and my uncles, Curtis Salgado, and like my uncles are the Mather brothers, Chris and Craig Mather. And there he is right there on the back. It's just so cool. There's just something about that. Or like, I have like a weird Japanese recording of like, I want to say it's a David Bowie album. I have a couple like that just bring me so much joy. And just to be like, yeah, I got that thing. There's only like 3 in existence. Incidentally, go watch Bathtubs Over Broadway. Yeah. We'll talk about that on a different episode. That's really good. And if it was something that was more like me, a collection that was more just like dorky or like what I would expect me to collect, it would have to be either sneakers, or it would be like fucking, man, I really want to say anime figures. It'd be journals. Because I have a journal
That
collection.
was the second thing I was going to
Yeah,
guess for
it'd
you.
absolutely be journals.
Yeah. Those two make complete sense to me. And like the albums thing I love too, because music is such a big part of your life, and me too, but like, and it's like our families are very into music. Like music's always a thing that's happening and playing and all of that. But journals, yes, that was my second one, because you do have a small collection of journals over there.
I do.
And
I have a thing that when I have the money to do it, when I work with somebody, so if I had the money, I'd be doing this for our cast right now. I buy them a journal that I painstakingly look for that I think fits them.
Oh, that's a great little like thing to touch on too, is how freaking cool it is when someone gives you something they know you collect, that they painstakingly picked out for you. Because I've had friends of mine give me crystals based on the feeling. Well, one, a deeper feeling of like people being like, I literally felt like this was for you. Sure. Like it called to me. And then ones that were like, this crystal has this property and I know you needed that right now, and so giving it to you. And that is the coolest thing I think you can ever do for someone, is getting to know them on that level of like whatever they collect, and then thoughtfully picking something out for their collection.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the clock and we unfortunately have to be done. Thank you for listening to us today. This is a little lighter of an episode. I guess they all are. We always start with like fourth episode. Even when we're talking about ourselves on that first episode, it always starts like giggly, and then we go to kind of serious, and then it comes back.
That's kind of how we are, though. We always
that's really true.
Find the thing to take away from something, which I think today is like, I hope this makes you think about the intention of the items that you have around you. It's important. It's important for you to, one, like, be honest with yourself, with your desires and the things that bring you joy, whether or not they're quote unquote weird or not. And also being really intentional about what you keep around you and letting go what doesn't serve you anymore and all those things.
I agree.
So
gratitudes. What do you feel like? I want to start calling them gratitude crystals, and here's why.
Ooh, I love that.
Here's why. It's not good. It's because we both like crystals. We like the gratitude, but if in the worst Zelda game ever made, there was a side quest thing you would do every time you did something nice for somebody. They specifically say they secrete like an energy that forms into crystals. Mm-hmm. And there's something about the word secrete that makes it fucking gross.
Yeah, I don't really
But they
like
were
that
called
word.
gratitude crystals in a game that's also just like bonkers stupid.
Well, I like it, and I don't really know that game. So.
It doesn't matter. I just think it's cute.
Crystals.
Gratitude crystal.
Okay.
Get sued by Nintendo for a podcast.
I'm trying to remember what my gratitude was last week, because I feel like I'm about to repeat it.
I think that's okay.
My gratitude crystal this week is.
I really like that.
Is. Why is it that I can't find the words to describe this?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I would like you to go first.
Okay. I'm really grateful that I get to do a show with you.
Yeah.
Katie's the co-director of this show, and I'm just a small part of it. But she's been able to teach and go to dance class and stuff, and I haven't since pandemic hit. So it means a lot to me that I get to especially do it, but do it with you. It means the world to me. And again, I'm really grateful for how nice and hardworking everyone was today on that first setup. It's just good.
Yeah.
It makes me really happy.
That was like what I was trying to like make that deeper than I actually was. That was my gratitude crystal, was getting to do a show with you, and the deeper level of that being like, we talk often about how like we each have our own things that we're really passionate about that are separate from each other, that we like, I'm not sitting down and going through like every single like chakra thing I'm learning about with Andrew, like just because it's like sometimes it's just my own thing.
You go through a lot of them with me.
Yeah, but like And the video game stuff, like, I'm definitely like...
Yeah, I'm not going to fucking bore Katie with, like, it's just not her subject.
Yeah, so, like, in the same way that we have these subjects that are, like, our things, we do have certain things that are both of our things, and one of those things is dance.
Yeah.
And it is so joyful to get to be in a studio together again, in a show, putting together and, like, moving our bodies in a way that feels so good to us, like in the same room, in this self-expression, in this way that we love, that we haven't really had the chance to do in a really long time, is just like so joy-filled for me. And it also is like weirdly nostalgic because that's our love story. That's how we really met. And that's how we
so true.
We literally started dating right after we did our first show together. And so it is like, it's kind of like being in your, I mean, we have our first date spot that will forever be the coolest, and we'll have to have a
Blue Diamond
Blues
baby.
Club.
Oh.
But it's kind of like being in one of our first date spots together is like being in that room together. So it's really sweet to me.
I love you.
I love you.
Okay, we're done for today. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. If you'd like to have us chit chat and go on tangents about a topic, please tell us.
Yeah.
Again, we're looking into putting together a Patreon and putting together a nice professional video component for this, and adding some Q&As and that sort of thing. You'll hear more about that. Did you have something to say?
I did have something to say that I feel like we don't do because maybe it feels weird. It's but it really helps the podcast if you like this to share it with other people, but even more importantly, or as important, is to rate it on whatever platform you're listening to this on. And then if you also feel compelled to leave a review, those are the things that help the algorithms get it out to other people. Yep. So if this is just making you chuckle or think or any of the things, we would greatly appreciate that. So
yeah,
please do.
No, I don't want your criticism, though. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, for listening, excuse me. We both hope you have an amazing week. We will see you next time. Remember that you can get, Katie does her own podcast.
Coming Home to You.
It is available on all of the services.
All of the services of this.
Just like this one, it's available on all the services. You can also book Katie. She is a what would you call yourself these days now? Actually, I know you're a nutrition coach. I know you're a health and wellness coach.
Yeah, I'm doing much more of like the high level self discovery, self mastery mentorship, which, if you're like, that sounds like a bunch of gobbledygook, then I highly recommend.
You don't find it valuable, and it's not for you. But those of you who resonate with that,
if that sounds like gobbledygook to you, definitely go listen to my podcast because it will make a whole lot more sense. But it's mentorship to help you expand into the areas of spiritual growth, or really any sort of growth you're trying to do, about overcoming limiting beliefs and that sort of thing, to really create the life that you want to live. So yeah, that's what I do.
It's a beautiful thing, y'all. Have the best week you've ever had. What?
And also, if you haven't read his book yet,
buy my book.
Holy crap!
Help Me Afford Food. It's on Amazon. It's called The Death and Life of Tom Valentine. I like it. It's good.
So
I'm working on 2 other books. They will come out at some point. They will both be fiction. We'll talk about it on another episode.
Totally.
I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for your support.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.